Hey guys, it's Math with Mrs. Montoya, and today, and actually for the next several videos, I want to talk about domain and range. This is like a huge thing that's tested if you live in Texas, and if you don't live in Texas, it's tested also. I'm just more familiar with Texas, but I want to go over some reminders about domain and range. So let's talk about domain first. I'm going to do domain in red. There are four things you should know about domain. It's the x values. You can create walls to help you out. It's the input, and it's how wide. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and talk about domain first before I get into range. So it's the x values. So you can see the x values here on the x-axis. Okay, so we want to consider all the x values that could be on this segment right here. Now we're going to create some walls to like enclose the segment. So I'm going to choose this wall right here, and this is very specific. I chose this wall because it was the very edge of the line segment. It included all of it. It touched the endpoint. It's perfect, okay? Here's the other wall that I'm going to draw. Walls go up and down, right? That's why my walls are this direction. Now, notice I circled those x values that my walls went through. I did that on purpose so that you could see what the domain is. This segment is between those two x values that I circled there, okay? Now, I'm looking at how wide it is. So that's another reason we use walls to determine how wide it is. It goes from this -2 all the way to this 3. Now, we're going to use inequality notation to represent this. Now, since I don't have any arrows on this segment, that means it stops right there. Okay, so I have like a stopping point. If there was an arrow right there, that arrow would break through that wall. It would mean that it would keep going. We'll do an example like that later. Right now, let's focus on this example. So my x is in the middle, right? So I've got my less than symbols on each side of my x because I always go from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. My smallest thing was that -2 and the biggest was 3. You're not done yet. Be careful. When we talk about inequalities, we talk about these filled dots and these open dots. You've got to remember the difference in the symbol. If the dot is filled, that means it has the equal to bar. So where that filled dot lines up with that -2, that's why I have that equal to bar on that -2. But right here at the 3, that's at an open circle. So I'm going to leave that off on this less than symbol right there. Okay. Let's do range in blue. All right, four things for range. So let's kind of do what corresponds to domain here. So domain is X, the range is Y. And the domain is walls, the range is floors. The domain is input, the range is output. And the domain is how wide and the range is how tall. Now I'm going to put in parentheses, you always go from the bottom to the top, and that's because of what I explained before, where we always go from the smallest thing to the biggest thing. So domain goes from left to right and range goes from bottom to top. That you've just got to remember smallest to biggest and you'll be set, okay? So now I'm going to do my floors. So I can put a bottom floor right here at the very bottom of this segment, and I can put a floor right here at the very top of this segment. Okay, now my floors are super helpful because you can see wherever your floors cross through that y-axis, because it is the y value, that is what your numbers are going to be. That's where what your y is between. See, this segment is between those two lines. So I'm going to put my y in the middle. I always use less than symbols when I have an x or y in the middle because I go from the smallest to the biggest. So this thing right here is smaller than y, and y is smaller than that thing right here, okay? So I'm going to put those numbers in there, -4 and 2, from the bottom to the top. Now, I want you to really look closely at this and decide, think about which one, or if both of them or one of them or neither of them is going to have an equal to bar. This has an open circle. no equal to bar. Open circles mean that it's not included in the actual answer. Everything up to 4 is like, I'm sorry, everything getting close to -4 is like -3.99999, okay? But not -4. But everything approaching it is part of the solution set. So that does not get that equal to bar. But I'm going to look over here at where my the top floor of my range, at 2, it goes through a closed circle, so I definitely need the equal to bar there. Okay. Now, real fast, I want to talk about input and output. I didn't mention this really today in this example because that's going to have to do when we get into those real world examples, which I will do in one of the following videos. But I hope this was helpful. I know that you guys are getting ready for your EOC, so I'm really wishing you luck. I'm going to try to put out some more videos to help you out. All right. Make sure you like it if it was helpful.